Connie Dabate was born on July 31, 1976, in Rockville, Connecticut. She grew up surrounded by love, the youngest child of Kenneth and Cindy Margada. Her brother Keith would later recall the day their father took him to the hospital to meet her for the first time. The nurse held baby Connie up to the glass, and from that moment, he said, she became the light of their family. As she grew, Connie stood out for her determination and warmth. She was the kind of person who excelled in whatever she did, driven, organized, and full of life. After graduating from Ellington High School in 1995, she earned her degree from the University of Connecticut in 1999. Her friends remembered her as someone who threw herself into life with enthusiasm. She later built a thriving career in pharmaceutical sales, rising quickly through the ranks. Connie wasn't just successful, she cared deeply about her work. She prided herself on being reliable, genuine, and always available to help the doctors and pharmacists she worked with. Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. She was consistently ranked in the top 20% of her company and earned multiple President's Club awards. But the role she valued most wasn't in the office. It was at home. In July 2003, Connie married Richard Dabate, a computer network administrator she had been dating for years. They settled in Ellington, in a spacious colonial-style house that soon filled with laughter and the sound of two little boys, Richard Jr., known as RJ, and Connor. Connie's world revolved around them. When her youngest son was born with a cleft lip, she became his fiercest advocate, driving to Boston for medical appointments while still caring for her father, who was battling leukemia. Friends said she seemed to do it all with grace. To them, she was a loving mother, a devoted daughter, and the heart of their neighborhood, always helping with fundraisers, organizing community events, and volunteering at the local ambulance corps. She truly was the sunshine of so many lives. But beneath the surface of her picture-perfect family, something was beginning to break. By 2015, Connie's marriage was no longer the happy partnership it once appeared to be. Friends noticed she seemed stressed, especially about money. Richard's spending habits worried her, and there were signs of dishonesty. There were charges she couldn't explain, withdrawals she didn't authorize, and eventually, something far worse. An affair that Richard had been hiding for years. Her husband was secretly seeing a woman named Sarah Ganser, someone he'd known since middle school. They had been involved on and off during his marriage, and by May of 2015, their relationship had turned serious again. Just a month later, Sarah discovered she was pregnant with Richard's child. Richard promised he'd leave Connie. He told Sarah he was planning to sell the house and start a new life together, but he never followed through. He told Sarah one thing, Connie another, and lived in two worlds, until those lies began to close in around him. By late December, Sarah was 7 months pregnant and frustrated by his indecision. Richard, facing financial strain and terrified of losing everything in a divorce, began searching online for something that would soon prove damning: homemade poisons, untraceable drugs, and ways to make death look like an accident. Then came the morning of December 23rd. It started like any other day. The kids were excited for Christmas break, and Connie planned to attend her morning spinning class at the YMCA. According to Richard, he left for work around 8:35 a.m., only to realize minutes later that he had forgotten his laptop at home. But digital evidence would tell a completely different story. At 8:37 a.m., someone in the house was still on the family computer, browsing the internet. At 8:46 a.m., Connie's Fitbit recorded her walking out the door, on her way to the gym. And at 8:47, the home's alarm system was armed from Richard's keychain, a device that only worked within a few hundred feet. He couldn't have been miles away like he claimed. Connie arrived at the YMCA at 8:53 a.m., but her spinning class had been canceled. She left a few minutes later, and by 9:23, her garage door opened. She had returned home unexpectedly. Over the next 40 minutes, her Fitbit tracked normal movement, steps around the kitchen, through the hallway, the kind of movement that showed she was alive, calm, and unaware of danger. At 10:05 a.m., it stopped recording forever. Minutes later, the home's panic alarm was triggered. Police arrived to find Richard tied loosely to a chair, claiming that a masked intruder had broken in, tied him up, and shot Connie when she came home. But the story didn't make sense. There were no signs of forced entry. Nothing had been stolen. And every search dog brought to the scene circled back, straight to Richard. In the basement, police found Connie. She had been shot twice with a .357 Magnum revolver that Richard had purchased just weeks earlier. The supposed intruder, it seemed, had never existed. When detectives analyzed the timeline, the truth became undeniable. Connie had been alive long after Richard claimed she was killed. The Fitbit data, the alarm records, the phone pings, everything pointed to one conclusion. Richard was home, and he had murdered his wife. But his deceit didn't end there. Within days of her death, Richard tried to claim her nearly $500,000 life insurance policy. When that failed, he drained her investment accounts, spending almost all of the savings Connie had built for their sons. By the time of his trial, less than $7 remained. For nearly 2 years, Richard maintained his innocence while living freely. He continued seeing Sarah, who gave birth to their daughter in February 2016. But as investigators built their case, his lies began to crumble. Digital forensics proved everything. The Fitbit was the silent witness that caught him. The home's alarm system logs confirmed he was there. Even his emails showed he was using the home computer when he claimed to be elsewhere. It was one of the most detailed digital investigations in Connecticut's history, and it left no doubt. On April 14, 2017, police finally arrested Richard Dabate. He pleaded not guilty and was released on bail as the case dragged on for years. But the evidence never changed. When the trial began in April 2022, prosecutors presented over 600 pieces of evidence. The Fitbit data alone destroyed his defense. The affair, the financial motive, the fake burglary, it all fit together too perfectly. Sarah Ganser testified through tears, saying she never meant to break up his marriage. But Richard's lies and her pregnancy pushed him into a corner. And when he saw no way out, he made a choice that ended Connie's life. On May 10, 2022, the jury found him guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 65 years in prison, not eligible for release until 2087. Connie's sons now live with relatives, surrounded by the same community their mother once served. A college fund in her name honors the love and kindness she shared. Her family says the verdict brought relief, but not peace. For them, Connie's light still burns in the lives she touched. And in the end, it was the smallest detail, a simple fitness tracker, that uncovered the truth. It recorded her final steps and revealed what really happened that morning. Connie Dabate's Fitbit may have been the silent witness that exposed her killer, but her true legacy is the love she left behind.